My only requirement going into this was please be better than Falcon and Winter Soldier. And well, anyone else find it weird that the title card at the start just said Brave New World, no Captain America? Thought that was bizarre. So for those of you who don't know, Captain America Brave New World is the fourth Captain America movie, the first Sam Wilson Captain America movie, a follow-up to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a payoff to the tease at the end of Endgame, and a pseudo-Incredible Hulk sequel. Get all that? Oh yeah, they finally addressed that thing from Eternals and then randomly included a tie-in to Black Widow through the character Sabra. Or I'm sorry, Ruth. Yeah. So if you're hearing all that and you think, wow, that sounds like a jumbled mess.
That is correct.
Not to mention the development hell that this film went through. Endless reshoots, ballooning budgets, most likely falsified reports that the studio put out regarding how much they spent on this film, recasting Thunderbolt Ross because William Hurt died and so we had to have Harrison Ford step into the role, new characters that were just randomly added in at the tail end and characters that were removed from the story entirely, panic decisions by the studio to drastically change the involvement of one character in particular because of the Israel and Palestine conflict, and hiring director Julius Ona, whose only notable film is, let's see here, The Cloverfield Paradox. But nonetheless, I remained somewhat optimistic, hoping that this would work out. You see, I've never been a hater of Sam Wilson as Captain America. Matter of fact, back in 2019, when Avengers Endgame ended and you see Steve hand Sam the shield, I got really excited. I have always thought that Sam Wilson is a great character. I love him in the MCU. I love him in the comics. And I thought he was one of the best, if not the best candidate to take up the mantle moving forward. But part of me has always wanted him to not have to be in Steve Rogers' shadow the whole time, not carry the name Captain America and find his own identity as this new character or new mantle, new title, whatever, that would be carrying the Captain America shield moving forward. And considering he's got an all-white bird suit, doesn't it make more sense to call him American Eagle? Or you could just call him Uncle Sam. Maybe that'd be a little too on the nose though. Either way, I've never had qualms with him becoming the next Captain America, and I was very much looking forward to what they would do with his character moving forward post Endgame. But man, I was really hoping they wouldn't just give him some boring new suit like they tend to do with all these movies. For whatever reason, we can never have one suit last more than one film or show or whatever. We got that beautiful white suit that is super comic accurate at like the very end of Falcon and Winter Soldier and a little bit at the beginning first act of this movie. And then he's wearing street clothes throughout the bulk of the film until the third act when he puts on this blue, boring, whatever kind of suit. And I just really wish they hadn't gone with that and kept the white suit because of how much I loved it. Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross is a bit of an acquired taste. Obviously, he's stepping into the role after William Hurt did, and it's weird because this is in the same continuity, and because of William Hurt's passing back in 2021 or 2, I believe, we can't have him anymore, so we had to recast in order to use this character moving forward. But the problem is, Harrison Ford doesn't look, sound, or act anything like him. And they don't even attempt to make him look anything like William Hurt's version of the character. Shaved the mustache, completely different haircut, straight up Gellert Grindelwalded him. So it's really hard to see him as the same character, but it wouldn't be nearly as bad if the writing wasn't just so surface level and bland. In fact, everyone's writing is. There's endless exposition from start to finish. Every character is wearing their feelings and motivations on their sleeve, constantly just jabbering about what they feel without any substance or nuance, and the film really doesn't even give them any time to breathe because we're just constantly going from one thing to the next. This thing is clocking in at like 1,000 horsepower, doesn't know when to pump the brakes and just have a moment to actually, flesh out these characters or make it feel like this is anything more than just like an amusement park attraction. And I hate using that metaphor because it's so overused at this point, but I really can't think of a better way to describe it. You're just along for the ride with these characters, and you don't really see them go through any arc whatsoever. It kind of reminded me of Rise of Skywalker in a way, how it just video game checkpoints its way from start to finish without developing these characters in any meaningful way. And because of that, Sam doesn't feel like he was on any journey or progressed by the end of it. Torres? Still don't know jack about him. Sidewinder? The most afterthought of a villain I've ever seen, and the only reason he's in this is just so they can drop him in randomly at various points to move things along, and also so they can have Giancarlo Esposito attached to their film sprinkle him all over the marketing, and hopefully draw in more people to see it just because he's a recognizable name. Sidewinder is part of the Serpent Society, which is just name dropped and never really fleshed out in any way. They just kind of talk about it like they've heard of it and are familiar with it. And not that this is like, a launch pad for Serpent Society to take on a bigger role in the MCU moving forward. They just kind of exist, deal with it. And if you're a fan of the Serpent Society from the comics, sorry to say, you're not going to get what you're looking for. The leader was terrible. I mean, I've been waiting for them to follow up everything with Samuel Stearns from Incredible Hulk since I first watched that movie. And the fact that it took them 17 years to finally address that because Universal just refuses to make a Hulk sequel, and this is what you do with him. It's just stupid. And if you haven't seen The Incredible Hulk or you don't remember that movie because it's just been so long, this character's existence is just going to confuse the heck out of you because he's not a Captain America villain. He's a villain from a completely different film 17 years ago. But the biggest cardinal sin? They do nothing to give Sam a Captain America moment. Steve Rogers had loads of these in his trilogy, and it really allowed us to understand the humanity of his character.
I don't want to kill anyone. I don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from.
Grenade! Move, move, move! Get away! Get back!
Is this a test? The price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it.
It's a job. We try to save as many people as we can. Sometimes it doesn't mean everybody. But if we can't find a way to live with that, next time, maybe nobody gets saved.
Sam has none of these, and it pains me because he is such a great character throughout the previous films and actually gets a couple of moments like that.
Some stuff you leave there, other stuff you bring back. It's our job to figure out how to carry it. Is it going to be in a big suitcase or in a little man purse?
Now, I just like to read an excerpt from Fallen Son, The Death of Captain America by Jeff Loeb, which is a comic that takes place after the fallout of Civil War where Captain America is killed in the comics. And I'm only doing this because I think this is one of Sam Wilson's greatest moments in the comics. Now, for context, in this comic, Sam Wilson is giving a eulogy at Captain America's funeral and just speaking some words on his behalf. The truth is, it didn't matter what we called him, because it all began and ended with Steve Rogers. He did more than wear the flag. He believed in all the things it stood for, and he actively worked to inspire men, women, and children to be the heroes he knew they could be. I speak from experience trapped on an island with no chance of survival. Steve Rogers made me dig deep within myself to find that I could become the Falcon. More than any super soldier serum that had been pumped into his veins, Steve's real power came from the lives he touched in the decades he was with us. People of all ages and all different walks of life. Now, look around you. Kind of amazing, isn't it? How we usually see the differences between us, separated by nationality, by color, by religion, and yet here we all are, connected. Steve Rogers, that skinny blonde-haired kid who grew up on the streets in New York, showed us that the ideals of the American dream, the great melting pot that can bring out the best in each of us and bind us all together, actually works. And he can keep teaching us that long after he's gone, by telling stories about him, to our children, to our grandchildren. Steve Rogers, Captain America, will never die. This doesn't have to be a day of sadness. We can accept it as a gift of unity and hope, the kind of day Captain America lived for. I was really hoping for a moment just like that, to just cement Sam Wilson and his ideals, understanding and celebrating Captain America and what he stood for, and taking that shield, taking on the mantle with gusto. But instead, remind me, what exactly did Disney do with him since making him Captain America?
The terrorists only set us back a bit.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
You have to stop calling them terrorists. You have to stop calling them terrorists.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
Yeah, not even close. And so I was really hoping we could get something like that, but the closest thing we get to that in this film is... Okay, spoiler alert. If you don't want to know anything, skip to this time code in the video. I promise there will be no spoilers past that point in the video. Getting into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Spoilers begin now. Bucky making a cameo in this film was clearly drummed up to be super epic, but it honestly just felt really awkward. The worst part is he's only there for some artificial affirmation because Sam momentarily doubts his ability to be Captain America, even though this has not come up once before in the film and it doesn't faze him at all later after. It's just in this self-contained conversation. And I'm willing to believe that this was entirely one of the reshoots. Matter of fact, Bucky even looks like he does in one of the trailers for Thunderbolts, so I'm sure they were just filming at the same time. But Bucky's like, nah, man, it's all good. You're doing great. Love you, bro. Okay, I gotta leave because I gotta get to this campaign fundraiser because apparently I'm running for Congress. When did that happen? Am I missing something? Like he's suddenly just like on the campaign trail? The Winter Soldier is running for public office? Huh? And like I said before, the leader is stupid and I hate his design. When he finally steps out of the shadows, I audibly went, what? I mean, they made him look like Angstrom or whatever his name is from Invincible with the overgrown brain on his head, and it just looks so stupid. Now, granted, we're talking about a guy with like a super big head and he's green and everything, but this is a comic book character. Can you just make him look like the comic book character? At least give him the facial hair that resembles the character. In this, he's just clean shaven. He honestly just looks like a human booger. Oh yeah, and the leader also isn't a telepath like in the comics. He's just like a master hypnotist and was able to figure out all this stuff because his brain is just bigger now or something. So his master plan involves brainwashing people through technological advancements, which just means some lights flash off of their phone screen. They look at that, and then suddenly, once you play a song, they go full-on Manchurian Candidate. And so apparently this can just happen to anyone. Like, you don't have to be a super soldier. It's not like Bucky when he got, like, conditioned by Russia to become this sleeper cell agent. My question is, why stop at Isaiah Bradley and a couple of armed guards in the room? Like, why wouldn't you target Sam Wilson? If you had Captain America as your mind slave, wouldn't that be more effective for your plan? Not only that, it would topple his reputation amidst all this controversy of a new person taking on the mantle of Captain America, which they don't address one bit in this film and could have been super compelling. But what do I know? I guess I'm just not as big-brained as the leader. Red Hulk doesn't show up until like the way end of the film, like the last 20 minutes section of the film, and he only has about like 10 minutes of screen time in full-fledged Red Hulk CG form, which honestly wouldn't be that big of a deal if he wasn't literally all over the marketing and just about all of his footage was already in the trailers. And it's just really stupid because it's only one fight scene that he's really featured in, and the fact that it ends with Sam speaking some really inspirational words of wisdom to him to talk him off the ledge. It just cheapens the overall experience. And the whole Betty situation is just stupid. Like, at first they have to remind you that she even exists because it's been 17 years since her character showed up on screen in anything. And before Ross is about to go out before a crowd after being elected president, he literally asks someone, have you heard from Betty? Have you heard from my daughter? Like, obviously they know who Betty is when he references her by name. They don't need to throw in that extra line for anyone other than the audience who might have forgotten who she is. And he spends just so much of the film moping about how much she hates him and how their relationship is estranged and she hasn't spoken to him since Bruce went on the run. And it all gets resolved in a matter of seconds with one freaking phone call. Like, literally all that happens is,
hi, Dad.
Hello. I didn't know if you were going to pick up or not. Do you want to meet up and go see some cherry blossoms and put all this behind us?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know, man. If I got my roughly 2-decade estranged daughter on the phone for the first time in God knows how long, I'd probably have more to say than that. And then she shows up at the end in like the most awkward cameo ever because like he's in his cell in the raft and she comes up to the glass to see him. But you can't even see her all that well because there's all these bars caging the cell. So she's just kind of there like, hi, Dad. Yeah. Oh, it's good to see you again. Even though you're like the bad guy now, but you're still a good guy to me, even though we didn't really do anything to work through this problem, but I'm here now. Why'd that kind of sound like the characters from Charlie the Unicorn?
Candy Mountain, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie.
But I guess the action is okay at times. Most of the cool stuff is all CG when he's just flying around and taking out jets or he's fighting Red Hulk or whatever, but it's nothing compared to the Steve Rogers trilogy. And the green screen is horrendous. I mean, there are moments that you can totally tell they were reshoots. I mean, this shot alone. This is a real unedited shot that's in this movie. And funny enough, it kind of reminds me of this shot from Multiverse of Madness. What is the deal with the volume or the green screen or whatever they're using for these shots? Marvel really needs to step up their game, especially if they're spending all this time and money on these movies. I mean, it's not as glaring as something like, Justice League 2017, but it's still bad and unacceptable. Overall, I was looking for something at least somewhat decent, but I just didn't get that at all. Marvel's just been on such a downward spiral, and I'm worried they're never going to recover. They don't really know what direction to head in, and it's very, very foreboding for the future of the MCU. Marvel's got a couple more movies coming out this year, so we'll see how those go, but for right now, this one has earned them nothing more than a 5 out of 10. It's Captain America Brave New World. Let me know in the comments. Did you think that this was good? Did you think this was bad? Is this better than the Steve Rogers trilogy? Is it far from what Marvel is capable of making? I would love to hear what you have to say. Just please, if someone disagrees with you, don't go at each other's throats over it. It's just a movie after all, not the most important thing in the world. While you're down there, you can also give this video a like if you like this review, subscribe for more videos like this, hit the bell so you know when I'm posting them, and you can go to the description and click the links down there. They'll take you to my other social media platforms where I post numerous other reviews that don't always make it onto this channel. But until next time, guys, God be with you. Take care.